Well, and as we saw those adoring supporters over there, let's just also get a view from someone who has been looking at Bengal politics over the last few years. Noted writer, Sahitya Academy Award winner Amit Chaudhuri now joins us from Oxford. He spends his time between the UK and Bengal, and he joins us now. Thank you very much, Amit Chaudhuri, for speaking to NDTV on a day when Mamata Banerjee has her swearing-in ceremony taking place. Now, I've been reading all that you've written about Bengal and Mamata Banerjee's government, and in your article in the London Review of Books and also recently in the Telegraph, you've been quite critical of her promise of poriborton, and yet she's now come back with a bigger than ever win. What do you make of it?
Well, I mean, there are, I suppose, 2 or 3 reasons as to why she's come back. And I must remind people that being critical of Mamata Banerjee has nothing to do with prejudice against Mamata Banerjee. It's to do with expectations, to do with this person, to do with this chief minister, which were in a sense belied in the last 5 years. One of the things I said in the Telegraph piece, which I wrote more recently than the London Review of Books piece, was that poriborton, we now realize, it was always foolish of us to think that poriborton or change, or the radical change that we wanted, would come with a change of government. Poriborton has to be brought about by ourselves, by the people who live in West Bengal. Now, as far as why she came back, I think one of the things is, of course, people have been talking about the various things she did for the more deprived sections and the rural kind of, rural Bengal, giving out bicycles, giving them roads, water. All these things are extremely important. It will not matter to the rural voter as to whether the state is actually building up an infrastructure and has the wherewithal to sustain these things over the long term. The fact that Bengal itself has no industry and the long-term future of people, including labor in Bengal, is very bleak, is not something that is necessarily going to be occurring to people when they get these much-needed bicycles and water in their tap. That was one thing. The other is the depredations that the left visited upon people. It's something that people who live like me in certain parts of Calcutta are not aware of. What the left did in the last 25 years it hasn't been forgotten, and it's not going to be forgotten, especially in those rural areas for some time. The third thing I want to say is that there is a culture of fear in Bengal. It was brought about and inculcated and fostered by the left. The fear stretches right up to election day, I believe. If people, even from our strata of society, the middle class, the upper middle class, or even the affluent, are afraid on some level, how much more afraid are people who live in a completely politicized environment and don't have political power most of the year, except nominally on election day? I don't think that people in Bengal have learned how to vote freely. There is a kind of ethos of fear which was created by the left and which has been consolidated and flagrantly kind of, taken forward to an extreme by the Trinamool Congress. And we saw that ethos of fear. So one must take into account that people are also voting. They tend to vote in West Bengal for the ruling party. They think often that they must vote for the ruling party.
I need to ask you, because you mentioned those 3 reasons there, the media, and she has really criticized the publication ABP over there. The media focused, even the national media focused on Naroda scam, Sharda scam before that. But do you think that voters don't really care for these things? I know you mentioned Shobut Shati, her scheme for cycles. People don't care about corruption?
It's a mystery. I mean, what is going on in the heads of the large sort of mass of the electorate seems to be a mystery. One would have thought that they would have cared about corruption, but even when all this was happening, Sharada quite a while ago, then Naroda, and then the collapse of the flyover, which pointed to all kinds of corruption. Even when all of this was happening, you got a sense from talking to people from the working classes, from the laboring classes, people who come from the outskirts of Calcutta to work in our homes even, and who have suffered great deprivation over the last 20, 30 years. You got a sense that this is not what mattered. You also got a sense that the frames of reference in which they thought about these things were very different. Yes, of course, they didn't matter partly because they were getting these things from the Trinamool Congress, much needed things. So we must grant the Trinamool Congress for having done that. But at the same time, the frames of thinking are so different in much of Bengal, so determined by a kind of ethos of power and a belief that the powerful have to continue to be in power and we cannot do anything about it. I got a sense of that as well. And as I said, that has been created by the left. The left created it, and it has decimated the left now. You know, when you create something for your own, when political parties create something for their own long-term sort of, interest in just staying in power, it finally decimates them, which is what has happened to the left right now. And it will happen to Mamata Banerjee's government at some point, unless they change the system.
You know, it's interesting you say that, and I just wanted to point it out to all our viewers who are watching the swearing-in taking place, that Amit Chaudhuri, why we are interviewing Amit Chaudhuri is because, as he said, he is one of those people. It's very difficult in Bengal for reporters like me who go there. Most people see politically aligned, but Amit Chaudhuri has been, is a prominent writer. He's been writing about these issues, and what he wanted to say over there is that he is saying this not for the sake of criticizing Mamata Banerjee, but he's a commentator who's been looking at politics very, very significantly. I have to ask you one other thing, is that the Left Congress Alliance, is it an idea which wasn't given enough time, they didn't do their homework well, or is it a bad idea altogether to take on or be an opposition now, joint opposition in Bengal?
I think from their point of view, it was a good idea. The left, I think the left knew the animosity that people felt towards them and feel towards them even now. And maybe they saw the Congress as somehow tempering that. They came together with the single point agenda of getting the Trinamool Congress out, just as the Trinamool Congress and the Congress had come together with the single point agenda of getting the left out. And there were reasons for getting the left out at that time, and there were reasons for getting the Trinamool Congress out at this time, which had to do basically with the suppression of dissent. Besides, besides the fact that industry hadn't been brought in, as had been expected in the last 5 years, the main disappointment of the Trinamool Congress reign was its consolidation of the rampant politicization of every sphere of life created and perpetrated by the left. One had hoped that Mamata Banerjee and her government would have had the courage to undo that. They didn't have the courage. They lacked the courage. They were invested just in the whole agenda of being in power, and so they consolidated this as the best way of staying on in power. This is the reason that I think people felt there was a need to get this government out. Remember, the Trinamool Congress, like the left, must understand that there is an apolitical space within Bengal, whether or not they like it, where people are neither left nor Trinamool nor Congress, and their interest is in Bengal. And they are looking, to parties to do something not for their own sake, but for the sake of Bengal. So if Mamata Banerjee might have won, the CPM may or may not have won or lost, but the question is, what has Bengal gained? Has Bengal won or lost? Just winning elections is not important. The left won several elections. That in itself is not important. Has Bengal been winning? And if we are criticizing parties, it's on the basis of our interest in Bengal. The Trinamool Congress must learn to respect the apolitical voice and learn from it. Political parties have to learn from their critics.
National question, because the BJP has also increased its vote share in Bengal, and everyone's talking about Mamata Banerjee's whether because she's got Akhilesh Yadav there. We've seen those pictures as we are speaking to you of Akhilesh Yadav, Nitish Kumar, all of these leaders there, Arvind Kejriwal. Do you think that Mamata Banerjee is also going to look outside Bengal now to form a larger kind of regional or national coalition?
She might. I mean, I'm just really concerned about what's going to happen to Bengal in the next 5 years, and I'm hoping that this mandate that she's got is not going to be seen as an endorsement for what happened in the last 5 years, and that it is going to open her up and make her more courageous. She has been volatile, but she's not been courageous. I hope it's going to make her more courageous about taking the decisions that need to be taken. And if a larger sort of alliance, a regional alliance, is going to allow her to do that, to allow her to be more broad in her outlook, then, well, that may be a good thing. But we are clutching at straws. We want something to happen in Bengal which hasn't happened yet. Yes, it's good to know that people have been getting things which they didn't have before. But we know from looking around us, we know from the way the Trinamool functions, what a difficult place Bengal is in now.
Final question. I know that you're very concerned about preserving the heritage buildings over there. Mamata Banerjee is in love with blue and white, so much so that Red Road today, as those pictures show, are just blue and white today. What do you think it speaks of the aesthetics that we can expect from Kolkata over the next 5 years?
The whole blue and white, the matter of blue and white, again, points to the citizens' kind of disconnect with what a government comes in and does, and the government spends what is actually taxpayers' money, and they've come in on the votes of people with whom they don't connect when they take these ad hoc decisions, and they spend taxpayers' money, and there needs to be accountability about this. As far as the campaign is concerned about the houses of Calcutta, the architectural ethos of Calcutta is concerned, one can only hope that this mandate, this time, again, I will repeat, frees Mamata to act more courageously and take much needed decisions, including decisions to do with Calcutta's culture, its cultural history, of which these houses are a very, very important part, rather than the Trinamool seeing it as an endorsement of the excesses of the past. That, okay, our critics don't matter, what they're saying is nonsense, the people have answered. This is their usual, the usual thing they say, especially at these moments. I hope this is not what we're going to hear from them, that there's going to be thought. I know it is deeply wishful thinking, but I think citizens over here in Bengal and in Calcutta need to indulge in some wishful thinking of the good kind and articulate it fearlessly to this government. Otherwise, we'll keep seeing everything becoming blue and white.
Amit Chaudhuri, thank you for speaking to us and giving us that insight into Mamata Banerjee and what she brings to Bengal as she starts her second term. Thanks very much for speaking to us from Oxford. I know it's very early there. Thank you. Thanks a lot.